morning. Welcome to another day of Project S60R Restoration. I'm going the wrong way. Soren and I, it's ironic, we had a box full of P2 parts. And I told him, no, I think I'm gonna get rid of all these sensors. I'm gonna give them to you because I don't think I'm gonna be owning a P2R. This was at the time where I was downsizing all my Volvo parts and I had just given him everything that I didn't need. We're gonna read the check engine light codes. We're gonna tell you just what we gotta do and restore the car to its former glory. We have no information on the left side. That is broken. There's no message coming out through there. It's either burned out or it's just not functioning properly. I have a feeling it's just burned out. A lot of these clusters, especially in 2004, they go out. We've got the yellow triangle only. You know, when you open the door, it turns red. So it's not a huge pressing thing that's happening right now. You can see the trip meter is not working right there. That means I'm not getting an input to my speedometer. We got to hook it up to the Vita software and find out exactly which sensor is causing that issue. Our two codes, of course, are probably related to that brake module. Just like the P80 chassis, where every single brake cluster in the front that looks a lot like this has to be replaced. Insert image there. 16-gallon tank. I like that because I came from a BMW, which has an 18-19 gallon tank, and it's a lot of fun. So I did a little bit of detailing on the car. Let me show you a little bit of that. I used so much leather conditioner that my hands feel like they're leather and they're conditioned. We got the 6-speed here with the Spaceball shifter. The leather's worn. It was really hard to shift in the forward and backward position. I suspected something in the front was not giving it clearance because there's a lot of wire harnesses and cabling that run through and vacuum lines, etc. So I took out the covers and I found that next to the shifter mechanisms, which are huge on these compared to the P80s, that there was a wire harness that went around, and when the previous owner replaced the heater hose, he kind of forgot to put the wire harness back in, so it was just hitting up against the harness. So I made sure the brackets were out of the place and the clamp that holds it was finally attached on it and put to the side. Funny thing, when you drop something in these engine bays, they might just stick around in there, so that clamp hadn't gone anywhere. It was just laying down. The AC, I always keep it running. These Volvos with the AC, it's kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it. And since there's about 8 or 9 receipts that all say air conditioning service, charge, recharge, repair, etc., I don't want to lose this. And a big issue that my shop guy was telling me was if you're running your AC, you're getting the oil circulating through the system as well as the refrigerant, and that keeps your O-rings in good shape and it prevents any kind of leaks. So you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? Okay, I keep it in auto just because I'm starting to learn that with newer cars that tend to be pretty happy in auto, except this little vent right here inside, you can't see on camera, but it's got some fuzzy wuzzies in there. So we gotta clean that out. Suspension wise, it's got a lot of clunks. The engine, it's got a bad dunk dunk every time you're letting off in gear. So that's something that I'm a little concerned about. Check out the steering. Every time you turn, let's see if you can hear it. The left side here, the driver's side, has a clunk in it, and of course there's receipts for one control arm being replaced. I assume it'd be that side because that sounds nice, and this one's gonna need it as well. P2 chassis, a lot of the bushings, they kind of go bad on those control arms. After fixing that wiring harness, the shifter has a little bit of a clunk when you go to the left, so you can't really hear it this morning, which is good, but I gotta investigate that a little further. Exterior wash turned out really nicely. Look at those grooves. Woo! These brakes are not very effective right now. Look at that. Little Brembo logo. The body's in great shape. I'm really happy. It needs new wipers, of course, on the front. I've got a wonky fog light. May have a broken mount on it. Little baby spoiler with some more oxidation. You gotta babysit this on the way up or it will just go bloom. Isn't that great? Fabulous. And this won't go up all the way. I don't want to break anything, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. The S60R starters kit, a spare shirt so that you can get dirty, and a scanner. Get your OBD2 codes on the fly. About half a bottle of Lexol cleaner was used on this car. And it's not very good at getting a lot of stains out, but it's really good at getting the leather Yeah, I use the soap and water, and then I use the Lexol cleaner, followed by the conditioner. I was hoping a lot of this would just be dirt, but no, it's really just the worn leather. The seats are really nice. The big issue, of course, the stitching right here. This thing is falling apart pretty good. I might just replace the whole armrest. It'd be cool to upgrade to like the 2005 ones that have the slide. It's real pretty, but it might also be really ugly after 15 years or so. I'm glad there's not a lot of aftermarket stuff in this car. Speaker grill. Some wrinkling there on the leather. A little more deep cleaning might take that out. I love the door handles, the brushed aluminum, but this piece here looks like a doggy was just putting his little claws on it or something. See, now that it's warmed up, I've got my speedometer back. You can tell because the trip meter is on. The steering wheel cleaned up very nicely. The Lexol kind of helped soften up the leather. It gets a little sticky at first, but after 2 hours, it'll dry to a nice supple feeling again. And now I'm gonna go over a few things that I love about these cars. Fit and finish of an R is gonna be a lot better than an S60 base model, the 2.4T, the T5, and of course the power is gonna be better. You've got 160 base horsepower and then 200 for the 2.4 liter turbo. The T5 is a 2.3 liter. It makes 256 horsepower or something, and then this is a 300 horsepower-ish 2.5 liter, so that's really nice. I like having the close ratio 6-speed gearbox. It takes a little getting used to with the shift locations because it's too easy to get into gear, into the right gear. It almost knows based on your speed where to put you and based on your engine speed. It's really fascinating, actually. It almost holds your hand, pun intended, as you're doing that. Of course, the blue gauges are probably the nicest thing about this. I think that really sets it apart, and it has the two little lights on the top that shine down, and it looks like a framed piece of art. It has those lights above it reflecting down on it. It's really quite a beautiful thing. I love having the message board. Right now I can't use it, but I like to know my real time and average fuel economy, speed, distance, miles to empty, and then of course any messages that come up, which can be the bane of any Volvo owner to have every light bulb giving you a warning light. That can get kind of stressful, but it's important. They care about your safety, yada yada. Another thing I love is the sunroof works on this car. Yeah, a P2 with a working sunroof. I don't know if it's been replaced or the owners just didn't use it much, and it makes a little bit of noise. You know, just the sides, they're not quite crunchy, but they're starting to get close to it. Folding headrests are another huge thing I really enjoy. The button, the little push button, it's great. People tend to like it. You go out and you're like, hey, check this out. How fancy am I? I also love the headlight steppers that go between low and high beam. I think that's such a cool idea. Something else you might not know that's really cool about these cars: dual pane side windows for the front and rear. So you basically have a twin layers of glass, just like a windshield, for all your windows, which means you throw a rock at this window or somebody hits it with a baseball bat or something, yeah, they can still break in, of course. You can break the glass, but it's going to be like a windshield where it's laminated together and it's not going to shatter at you. So that was for accident safety there. I was reading a lot of the brochures about other safety features that Volvo put in these cars. You've got the side impact. Of course, there's an additional like 45-degree beam that goes diagonally up against the door. There's the whips, which is the whiplash protection system. Basically, if these seats get hit really hard, they protect you and cradle your spine in such a way it's going to be really good. I like to sit all the way up against the headrest because it keeps my shoulders and my upper spine pretty well aligned, but that's not really important for car purposes. That's just more of a personal tip not to slouch when I drive and maintain good posture. It's good to do that. 4C suspension, I'm sure it's amazing. I still don't know if it's working well or not. Insurance is a little bit cheaper for the R's as well because it's an S60. I don't know where I heard this, but it's nobody suspects the Volvo. This car only costs $10 more a month to insure than my 25-year-old BMW. Oh yeah, I can tell I'm in limp mode right now. It's not getting any power. Very stable past 100 miles an hour. That's not something that you really hit a lot, but right at like 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles, it's very stable, very quiet. Even the 99 V70 that I had, which was the T5 model, not the R, it was just very quiet and loved cruising at high speeds. The biggest issues, of course, with navigating would be the horrible turning radius and having a very low front bumper, so that you're probably going to be very curb aware as you park, and I end up leaving at least a foot every time because I don't know, oh, am I getting close enough or not? Unless there's a car next to me, I can see the reflections. Give me the dice. Give me some room. So we got the Vita software hooked up via the dice on the Volvo. Turns out it's just a brake control module, as I was suspecting. All the remaining codes for the CEM, the DEM, DIM, blah, 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 all those acronyms were because communication through the brake module. So where people would start replacing sensors because the check engine light says you need a speed sensor or you need a brake pedal switch circuit sensor, and that's common on a Chevy, you know, oh, I need a speed sensor, pop it out of the transmission, do it again, on the brakes, do it again, switch underneath the pedal, just pop it out, put it back in. It's electronic issues with a lot of these European cars. That's especially been my experience with Volvo and BMW. It's computer stuff. So we looked through some of the diagnostics and the symptoms and causes, so we know why the 4C suspension isn't going to work when you're not getting a signal. And we know that replacing the speed sensor, which is on these cars part of the wheel and ABS sensor, so it's on the front wheel, the front driver's side, I believe, it's not going to fix our problem. That's just going to cause us to waste money. This is kind of what our culprit could be here. So part numbers are the same between this all-wheel drive and an 09 unit, so chances are it might just be a direct pop-in kind of deal. So we're gonna try this today and see what happens. The rears don't work. I put a can of this in the gas tank. Now it's time to put a can of this in the intake. With the air filter removal. There we go. Pull this guy out. We don't want to spray the MAF. We want to spray past the MAF because this stuff might set a code. So you can see where our MAF sensor is on the housing. It's up there. The straw is a little bit longer, so this thing can be sprayed upside down. There's not a lot of room here. So I'm just going to stick it in one of these bottom holes and go all the way past the MAF, if it lets me. See, there's a mesh behind the first layer there. I just trimmed the tip of the straw since it's actually a really thick straw and got it to squeeze through there. So it's past it. The only problem is I can't get this to stay at 2,000 RPM. It wants between 2 to 2,500 or to 3,500 RPM, something like that. So I'm gonna have to wait for a friend to come. I was just put something under the gas pedal to jam it. Do not exceed, they put it twice, do not exceed 3,500 RPM. Empty the can, accelerate it 3 times, 2 to 3 times, without exceeding 3,500 RPM. Run it idle for 1 minute, then turn it off. Let the heat soak for 1 hour, then restart the engine, drive it at highway speeds for at least 10 minutes. Okay, waiting for slowing. Here's our good used unit, 8671224. There's the other one under there. Airbox can stay just the way it is. I think you can still wiggle around it pretty well. Just that this cover, this piece here has to go, and that one's over there drying in super glue because I cracked it. And that has 3 E5 bits. 1, 2, 3. Very, very tiny things. The big thing to be careful for is that this little guy, it sticks out quite a bit. It's gonna make our job a little difficult. Okay, nice gentle wiggling, and it's out. To remove this connector, there's
these two little guys here. You're gonna pull those out. There's a little plastic tab on this other part of the harness that will just break off. It's like one of those warranty seals. You know, they know that if you pulled that off, then you've actually opened this up. After 15 years, it doesn't matter. Lift this up. Make sure you leave room for yourself and don't damage any of the vacuum lines. And then as you lift up on this, it will remove the harness. Okay, the lights are out. I only have one orange triangle. I don't have a driver's information screen. I need to replace that bit of the gauge cluster because it's burned out. But fingers crossed that there's no pressing messages about the all-wheel drive system or the 4C suspension.